and welcome to Hard Copy from our channel studios in Abuja. I'm Kayla Megwa. Where do we begin with the political conundrum in Rivers State? Well, let's give you a recent timeline of these series of unfortunate events. The Supreme Court on February the 28th, 2025 made a few rulings on this Rivers State matter, including one, that the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Accountant General of the Federation must halt the release of funds to the Rivers State government until the Rivers State House of Assembly is properly constituted in line with the 1999 Constitution. Secondly, the Supreme Court made it clear that there was no evidence supporting the claim that 27 members of the House of Assembly had defected from the People's Democratic Party, PDP, to the All Progressives Congress, APC. The Supreme Court stated, quote, "A government cannot be said to exist without one of the three arms that constitute a state government under the 1999 Constitution. In this case, the executive arm has chosen to collapse the legislature, allowing the governor to rule without legislative oversight, effectively as a despot. The Right Honorable Martin Chike Amewule and the other 26 members should forthwith resume sitting unhindered as Speaker and members, respectively, of the Rivers State House of Assembly." Thirdly, the Supreme Court also declared invalid the Rivers State Local Government Council polls, which was held on October the 5th, 2024 in Rivers State, on grounds of it being held in breach of provisions of the Electoral Act. After these judgments came the back and forth. For some reason, correspondences between Governor Sim Fubara and the Martin Amewule-led State Assembly kept getting lost in the mail or improperly addressed. The governor was given an ultimatum to represent the state budget. He in turn asked for a parley of sorts. His parley request was rejected, and then he decided to show up at the State Assembly complex to adhere, in his words, to the Supreme Court ruling and represent the budget, but the gate was locked. He says he gave notice of his coming to the State Assembly. They said that wasn't the case.
To comply with the Supreme Court judgment, before my arrival, I've already made several attempts by phone call to reach the Speaker and other members. I also did a letter personally, which was transmitted to the Honorable Speaker for this particular invitation. But it's unfortunate that at the gates, you can see that the place is completely sealed and there's no sign that anything is going to happen today. The reason why we're doing this, I've always said it, is the interests of our people, which is the most important thing. Well, I don't think there's anything to worry about. Maybe they're working on their letter. I expect to hear from them maybe after this hour.
Meanwhile, Governor Fubara's predecessor and Minister of the FCT, Wike, held a media chat in Abuja and spoke on the 11-letter word that's been hovering over this 18-month crisis. The word is impeachment.
Illegality. Today we are happy that Supreme Court has made a pronouncement. The Apex Court has made a pronouncement. Who is wrong? Who is right? Commend those who challenge illegality. Don't commend those who said we will do anything that's wrong. If you have committed an offense to be impeached, what is wrong? Is it a criminal offense? It's provided in the Constitution. The point I'm making, if you have committed an infraction of the Constitution and the Assembly deems it fit to say you should be impeached, let me tell you, politics is not played just like this. Is it the first person that people have threatened about impeachment? Don't you know what to do? What is all these who are value that they will impeach? And let me tell you, and I have had people say, oh, if they impeach him, there will be breakdown of law and order. Rubbish. Hold on, rubbish.
Is peace even possible? What does peace mean to all the parties involved in this matter? Did the governor go too far against his State Assembly? Or is the State Assembly going too far against the state governor? Is an impeachment inevitable? Threats of violence by Niger Delta militants remain a source of worry for all lovers of the treasure base of the nation. And elders, lawmakers, and even the president have been asked to intervene in the matter again. Rivers State's local government, its state assembly, and its executive will be our focus tonight on Hard Copy with my guest, Mr. Tonye Cole. Mr. Cole ran against Governor Siminalayi Fubara in the 2023 governorship race for Rivers State under the All Progressives Congress APC, which has some drama of his own, which he says he will be responding to. Mr. Cole says Rivers State is a partyless state, crushing its people under the weight of this seemingly unending crisis. Mr. Tonye Cole, welcome to Hard Copy.
Thank you, Kayla. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you again. So talk to me, when you heard that Supreme Court judgment on Rivers State, the one on the local governments, on the disbursement of funds, and on the state assembly, what was the first thing that came to your mind?
You know, a while ago, I stopped being surprised about Supreme Court's rulings in Nigeria because it can go any way. It can go for you, it can go against you, depending on who is seemingly in favor at the time. So it was just another day in the office. It's what next? What do we do next? That's the way I felt.
I mean, many people have talked about the interpretation of this judgment. Some people actually think that there's a wrong interpretation going on, especially when it comes to the lawmakers and their seats in the National Assembly, in the State Assembly, rather. You know, because it was everyone, I think, well, many people, maybe not everybody, but many people thought, you know, well, if you've defected to another party, then you've automatically lost your seat, you know. So that was the prevailing thought process in many areas. But turns out that that's not exactly what the case was. Exactly. And it's led to the conundrum that we have right now. Do you have any thoughts on that argument?
Yes, I do. So what the Supreme Court essentially did was more or less saying that until the outcome of the seats have been determined, then go back to status quo. And now, okay, what that does essentially is just throws everybody back into the confused state, because now the Supreme Court has brought them back into reckoning for now, which is good. But you still have a case pending as to who and where do they really sit. Now, to whose benefit is that? Is that to the benefit of the people of the state? Is that to the benefit of the 27 lawmakers? Is it to the benefit of SIM? Nobody knows. And I think at the end of the day, the confusion just continues.
It's a very troubling one. I want to be able to get your thoughts on these conversations around reconciliation. Is it too little too late? Can the Governor Sim Fubara, can he actually work with these members of the State Assembly, knowing how much water has gone under the bridge in these past 18 months?
You know, Kayla, unfortunately, I don't see that there is going to be any kind of reconciliation. I've always thought that from the way this entire run started, and once the fight began, that Governor Sim is going to have to fight for his life every day that he's in the office. And it will continue until the last day of his tenure, whether that's in 4 years, whether it's in 8 years, whether it's now with all the impeachment talk that is going on. He's not going to have one day of peace. And that is detrimental at a very serious level for the people and citizens of Rivers State.
I want to be able to talk about that impeachment. Is it, well, we haven't heard of anything about it, but we did hear the Niger Delta militants say, look, if any impeachment happens to Sim Fubara, they're threatening violence. In fact, they went ahead as telling people who are not indigents of Rivers State to leave, you know, in case that happens. Is an impeachment imminent for Sim Fubara?
Well, I don't know whether it's imminent, but it has always been on the card. Now, if you remember that part of what started this recent run of the whole assembly being, there was a demolition of the assembly and what have you, was that there was a move to impeach the governor, or an intention to impeach. And so that was very strong back then, a couple of, maybe about a year ago. And now it's back on the table. Whether it's been put before the House or not, the word on the street is that he will be impeached if he does not play ball with the current House of Assembly. Not a very good way to govern a state, but it's there. It's right in front of him. He has to make a decision as to what he wants to do.
I mean, when you say play ball, what more sacrifice would he have to make? Because, listening to everything that's going on, it does feel like, well, he got the certified true copy during the weekend of the Supreme Court judgment, and then he calls for a meeting, and then they say, look, address this letter properly, almost as though they're trying to cut their own pound of flesh after everything that's happened. What do you make of it? Is it far gone? There's no way these people can sort out these differences, or are there sacrifices, like you said? Is there ball that Fubara has to play, in your view, that can actually remedy the situation?
Okay, so one thing I learned a couple of years ago is that there's no judgment that comes out of a court that anybody is happy. The one who won the case is not really happy. The one who lost is not really happy. Everybody just feels that they were shortchanged. And I think that's the situation that we have right now, which means that if there's going to be any kind of resolution, then all parties have to make a huge sacrifice. So you have a case now where the Supreme Court has handed over temporary, and I'll call it temporary administration to the current House of Assembly, pending whenever that other case is going to be addressed. For the meantime, what they will want to do is ensure that they have full control of everything that is happening, full control of the budget, how the budget is written, full control of who new appointments that are going to. So they would want to have full control. Now, the minute you decide that you want full control, what that leaves is you leave a governor who basically is sitting as a lame duck, has nobody around him, cannot do anything except he agrees with everything that the House of Assembly does. And we have a problem with that. If there's going to be peace, then the first thing is that both parties here have to then agree that who are they representing? Are they representing themselves, or are they representing the people of Rivers State? I can assure you that as we speak now, the people of Rivers State are not being represented in any way, form, or shape. The only representation that we have here are factions or political parties that are deciding that they must take control of the situation, whether on same side or on the Wike side.
That actually brings me to my next question. These two men you just mentioned, Nyesom Wike and Sim Fubara, I mean, it's been 18 months of just not understanding what's going on, a quarrel between these two men that the president waded into. We heard the Senate president not too long ago saying, look, we have to get some Niger Delta leaders to actually, wade into the matter. Some people, in fact, we even saw that letter that said the president himself should wade into this matter again. Is this a possibility? Is this the way to go? And you personally, Mr. Cole, you mentioned some names that you believe should go back into negotiations, go back into into this fray and find a way to bring these parties together. Talk to us a little bit about these calls for interventions from the president and from Niger Delta leaders and the people that you have said would be instrumental in bridging this peace.
Okay, so Kayla, one of the ways that you can have what you call a litmus test about how people feel in the political space is whether or not the general public, and when I mean general, those who are affected on a day-to-day basis, whether they are celebrating, whether they are crying, whether they are protesting. Now, I'm not talking about paid protests and all of that. People genuinely getting up to either celebrate because there is an action that has benefited them directly or not. In all of this saga, you would see that on the streets of Rivers State, day in, day out, people are just moving about as if, you know what, this entire thing does not interest them, does not concern them. And that is a litmus test to show you that the people are totally disconnected from the politics of the state and the politics of the state disconnected from the people, and that is a problem. Which means that moving forward, now to your question about where does the president come in, it means that moving forward, the president has to sit back and think about something. Do I want to keep Rivers State as a political tool that works for me come 2027, 2031, thereabout? And so all I'm interested in is the outcome of the elections that are coming forward. In that case, let me look for the political party that will most likely deliver that to me, regardless of what the people say. Or do I want to be the president of people who I want to see progress, move forward, and the state move forward? Now, depending on what he chooses to do, that's what we're going to see. If he chooses the people, then he will call the politicians in Rivers State to order. If he chooses the latter, that this is just about elections, then this fight can continue, because what then happens is that it's only the person who wins at the end of the day. Take all, win all, scatter everybody else. Once you win, then you have no opposition, and then Rivers State becomes, you can do whatever you want with it. So it's a matter of, for the president, do you stand on the side of the people, or do you stand on the side of the political outcome? I
wanted you to be able to talk about the people that you said would be instrumental, apart from the president, of course. There were some names that you mentioned.
I did. But you see, and that, at the end of the day, is a willingness to, it's whether the political establishment has a willingness to deal. If there's a willingness to deal, then one of the things that we have is that there's a trust issue right now. And no political party, no political player trusts the other right now, which means that you have to bring third parties that they trust. The names that I threw up and all of that were people who were apolitical. They were seen as statesmen and women within the state, and can bring people together to say, you know what, let us now work for the betterment of the people moving forward. And I still think that that is a solution that we must work on. This issue, as political as it is, must have a human face. And unless we put the human face together, Rivers State is going to be sad. Everywhere I go, people are like, what's wrong with your state? What's happening to your state? That's the concern of people. It's beyond belief. It just beggars belief that you have a state like Rivers State, as important and potent as it is. And we have this, I don't know what to call it. I'm struggling to find a term to describe what we see in Rivers State today.
It is quite unfortunate, maybe that would be a word that I would use, unfortunate set of circumstances. But I want you to be able to get your thoughts on conflictpreneurs. That's a phrase that's come up with this whole Rivers conundrum. The fact that there are people who are conflictpreneurs, who are using this as a way to make money, putting these words in this other person's ear, putting that in the other person's ear. When people are making money from a conflict, I think you and I would know this, that when there's a war, there's a lot of money being made. Yeah. So people who benefit from chaos will not allow peace to reign. What can be done about these conflictpreneurs? And do you agree that they exist in this particular Rivers State situation?
No, absolutely. Akela, look, and that's life. You will have it everywhere. You have it in Ukraine, you have it in the Gaza Strip, you have it everywhere, you have it in Congo. Anywhere that there's conflict, there will be people who will benefit tremendously from it, financially and otherwise. And that's fine. But with all conflict, there's a point that comes where you just say, you know what, it's not about the money anymore. It's not about who takes preeminence in terms of power. We have to draw the line. And I think Rivers State needs to get to that point where we say we draw the line. Because what people do not realize, Kela, well, an election is coming up in 2027. If this conflict continues all the way to 2027, you can then be sure that whichever government comes in 2027, out of any of this camp, is going to have a fight that is going to continue into the next 4 years. Which means that when you look forward into Rivers State election circles going forward, unless you bring something totally different from what we are seeing on the table today, there's no peace in Rivers State. It cannot continue. At some point, we all have to sit back as players in this political space to say, you know what, in Rivers State, let's draw the line. There are victors, there are losers, and all of that, but everybody now must sacrifice. That's where we have to get to, and we're not there yet.
Speaking of players in Rivers State, you used to be a very big player in the state, running under the All Progressives Congress. But recently, I heard you say something that was a bit worrisome. And I think you've alluded to it in at least two answers you've given me in the course of this interview. You said categorically that Rivers State is a party-less state. What do you mean by that? It
is. So about 6 months ago, the appeal court granted a ruling which brought back the APC under Emeka Bekee to be the authentic APC that you see today. Totally ignored. That entire court's ruling was ignored by APC, ignored by everybody, and so you still have an APC that was removed under Chief Tony Okocha still making announcements on behalf of APC, and that is recognized. How? So when you have a court that issues a judgment and a party can ignore that judgment, but at the same time, the Supreme Court issues another judgment and they say, obey this one. It tells you one thing, that as far as courts are concerned and as far as parties are concerned, political parties in Nigeria, they no longer respect the court. They will find whatever suits them to do. And if it suits them, they will obey it. If it does not suit them, they will ignore it. And I think the judiciary is in real trouble when this kind of interpretation continues to go and be allowed to go. That's what we are seeing in Rivers State. So as we speak, there is an APC that the court recognizes and an APC that the APC in Abuja recognizes. In Rivers State, you have two APCs working, one that is not recognized by the court and one that is recognized by the court. How does that happen? Now the court has removed all...
Well, the other party... Sorry to interrupt you. The other party, Mr. Okocha, he says that you are an outsider when it comes to politics in Rivers State. And he says you should lick your wounds nicely and keep it moving.
Please, Kayla, I don't even condescend to addressing such things like that. There's nothing and nobody who is an insider, outsider story. As long as you have an interest and you go in there, you have an interest in the state and you have an interest in the people of the state. Rivers State is badly managed, badly governed, and we have to address it. And I will stand by the truth. Those who are carrying impunity as a way of governance cannot work. At the end of all of this, it's going to be very clear to everyone that this is not the way that we want to be governed. And these are not the people that we want to govern us.
As we try to wrap up our interview today, I want to be able to get from you your political ambitions. Are you still going to be running for governor under the APC in Rivers State?
Nobody can stop me from politics. Nobody. It doesn't matter what they say, do, and all of that. I'm here to stay.
Still in the APC?
I haven't changed parties. El Rufai left APC today. I'm still in the APC. And they cannot expel me. They can't sack me. They cannot remove me. It's a voluntary thing, so there's nothing they can do. I'm in the APC, no matter what they want to do.
I want to be able to get your thoughts on going forward for peace in the state, and of course with the APC in Rivers State and the issues that you just raised. What's the way forward in your view?
The way forward is that, first of all, the president needs to call all political actors together and tell them that he's going to make a decision and this must stop. That's the way forward, first of all. Then the second thing is that the people of Rivers State need to have a say. They are being represented by political parties and actors that do not really care about them, and that is a problem. We need to begin to address the people, what matters to them as citizens of Rivers State, and then the political decisions that we take that affects them. And that is what I will stand by. If I'm called into the room, I will be standing there to talk about how do we address the issues that concern the people of Rivers State, not the power play between both of us.
I want to thank you so much, Mr. Tonyenko, for being with us on Hard Copy, and good luck with all the work you have ahead of you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kayla.
That's Hard Copy tonight. I'm Kayla Megwa. Good night.